Welcome to the Three Championship Drive podcast on YouTube, hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. Follow me on X at Lance Caporossi, the same way you see it spelled on the screen. And check out the Three Championship Drive podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to hit the follow button over there. And do me a favor, tell a Pistons fan. Almost did the intro perfectly, but a little miss up right there. But anyways, today in the Three Championship Drive podcast, we have a special guest, Doc Joe Brown, host of the Pro Wrestling Talk for Pistons fans and the mind behind the Ticket Barter website. We're going to turn it over to him. He's going to talk about Ticket Barter, break it down for you guys. So, Doc, how are you doing first and foremost? And when you're ready, tell us about ticketbarter.com.
Hey man, thanks a lot. Yeah, always check us out over at Pro Wrestling Talk for Pistons fans. Always, it's the Unserious Pistons podcast where we talk about pro wrestling and Pistons at the exact same time. And we're the only Pistons podcast that gives away seats to every Pistons tickets home game, right down in the district, Detroit. That's a joke, wink, wink. So yeah, but no, we really do give away tickets. It's just that LCA. And District Detroit is still coming soon. But I have like a new venture. Being a season ticket holder, www.ticket-barter.com, and I'm sure it'll be in the description of the show. And yeah, the target market is Pistons season ticket holders, where we swap tickets. Truly, even though the target market is like season ticket holders, you can swap tickets for anything Ticketmaster related. So if you can't make a game or something like that, and you're like, hey, I don't want to sell them on another website because the fees are too high, or it's just last minute, or you're like, I got buddies coming in town in December, and we really all want to sit together. You can give up a game in October and be like, hey, I got extra tickets for the game in December. If your boss just is like, hey, here's 5 front row seats to a band that I don't know about. You know what I mean? You're like, and he just walks away. That's all that's happened to us before. You don't want to go to the game, you can put them on Ticket Barter and say, you know what, I really want to go to a Pistons game. If anybody knows who this band is, and everybody can swap. There is no per fee ticket charge. So once you're a member, you're a member. And right now we're in the beta testing, so everybody can join for free. And yeah, so yeah, you just get on, you swap tickets, and then coming soon, we'll roll out very, very soon. So right now, our main platform that we use to swap tickets is Ticketmaster, but we're in the process of developing AXS for our people out on the West Coast. I know if you go to like Summer League or the Aces games or anything like that, those are sold on AXS. And then also integrating SeatGeek, so you'll be able to trade your Tiger tickets as well. And then even way, way, way down the line, like version 3.0, we're going to integrate Fandango. So let's say you got tickets to that opening night of Star Wars, and you're like, I really don't want to go. I'd rather go to a Chicago Sky game. You'll just be able to swap those tickets out. Sorry, I bumped my mic. So yeah, it's just a pretty cool concept. It's not selling, it's just swapping. And then our next rollout will include the free wall. So if you're a member and you just have tickets and you're like, I don't need to swap them for another event, I'm just trying to get rid of them. You're a member, you can go on and post tickets, or you can take tickets off the free wall. So just a great concept. If anybody with bulk tickets or access to bulk tickets, and they want to trade those tickets for events that they truly want to go to, I could think of like 1,000 scenarios. So we're just making our podcast rounds. I'm one of you. Like, I'm a season ticket holder to the Pistons and the Tigers for over 10 years now. And that's kind of how it came about. My show gives away tickets, Pro Wrestling Talk for Pistons fans, and it was getting kind of tedious. So I was like, man, it'd be cool if we had a platform to kind of give these away on. And then that evolved into other things because, you sit by the same people all the time at these games. Yeah. And they're always mass texting you and stuff the day of the game. Like, my aunt's coming in town, you got an extra ticket, all that stuff. So I'm like, I'm just going to create a platform for this. And that's how we got to ticket-barter.com.
So I did have a bunch of questions for you, but you literally answered all of them right through the intro. So that was great. So
I've been working on this for like 8 months.
Yeah,
about 8 months. Yeah, I had the idea. I've had the idea for some years because everybody's always swapping and things like that. But really, last year at Summer League is when it came up because people were calling me like I had tickets to the Wemby game, and I'm like, I'm here. I don't have extra tickets. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm actually inside the arena, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do this. I was like, I left Summer League. We put the rubber to the road. We started developing like our first, initial testing, and I know you wanted to know, like, Lance, how do you know the tickets are real? So that's actually a very good question. So you may have heard like of scams from other sites where it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, I put like $5,000 on the Taylor Swift Beyonce collab concert or whatever, right? And then the day of they cancel, stuff like that. So our site pretty much eliminated that, because what you do is you create a listing, and to get your listing live, you have to send us the tickets. And if we see that they're real, then we put the listing as live. If you don't send us a ticket, your listing never goes live. So that's how we know that they're real. And then if you want to cancel your listing at any time, we just send you back the tickets. Even if you have up like, hey, I want to go to the Bulls game, and I have Lakers tickets, and let's say somebody says, hey, I got Lakers tickets, and you got those Bulls tickets I want, you still have to accept, right? So you can say, you can deny and be like, hey, I changed my mind. Another question I get a lot of time is like, what if I have front row seats and the person that I trade with has like, seats in like triple Z? That's on you to decide, right? Because you create the value of the ticket, right? So one of the first trades that we did was like me just testing, like I really did have friends in town. And so it was no value to me to sit close because I wanted to sit by them. So I sat like a few rows back because it was more important to me to drink beers, crack jokes, and things like that. So even though I was like giving up value, monetary value in the tickets, for me, it was just a night out on the town. So you determine the value. You can always accept and deny.
So let's say you're trying to trade somebody that does have front row tickets. Could you offer them more events for those tickets to up the value?
Yeah, so you can offer more tickets. You could offer more event. No, you can offer more tickets as it is now. But the way the platform is now, we're just built out, is not that robust where you could be like 5 events for one or anything like that. It's just kind of
Okay.
event to event.
If you guys, I know that it's essentially just basically a trade for a trade, essentially to do these tickets. Have you ever thought of coming up maybe in the future with maybe like some type of like bidding for it, like you post on the website that you're giving away? I got these tickets for this game, and then it's just essentially people going at it to see who wants it, and then the last person wins. Essentially, like I don't know if that's a thing that could be something that you guys could add to or thought about.
That's an awesome suggestion. We've pretty much thought of everything. Not that though. I'll say not that though, because one of our main things was to get money out of the scenario. Like once you pay your fee to join, like then it's just the tickets are the money. So but one thing that we definitely have to, so we're gonna roll out the free wall and things like that, where you just post the tickets and say, hey, I got tickets, I just want to give them away. I told you about the other things like movie tickets. Even like if you have extra tickets to Cedar Point, right? You're just like, I can't go to Cedar Point, but I do want to go see, Ricky Martin or whatever. I don't want to see Ricky Martin, but you know what I mean? Somebody may be like, oh man, you know what? I got an extra ticket, so those are great. So yeah, we we're thinking about cross-platforming. But all of that is kind of just development costs too. So I've been building this out, but it's legit. We're on AWS, Amazon Workspaces. It's not like the server's just in my closet over here or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Those are all great ideas. And then if somebody wants to partner with us, like on a more significant level, we do have a spot funder page up right now, and I'll give you the link to that to pay as well, Lance. Just
Sweet.
if somebody wants to be like, hey, I really like this idea, I want to kind of buy some of Ticket Barter while it's still at the ground level, I'll put that link in there as well.
Okay.
So just really excited, man. I'm excited about the Pistons. This was a great year that they were bad because it gave me more time to work on this.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And then also through this, I learned like all the NBA, even though we're Michigan based or anything. But technically, you could trade with somebody like in Miami because they're on Ticketmaster too. The platform is just, so that's kind of awesome. So think about this: like you're going to Miami for the weekend. Somebody from Miami is going to Detroit for the weekend. The system will find you all and say, "Hey, do you guys want to swap your, because the Pistons are playing while the person in Miami is visiting." So it's just all kind of features, man. I really excited about it. And I think it really fills in a void because there's so much selling and upcharging of tickets online right now. And this kind of fills in that void where it's like, you know what? I'm not getting money or anything like that, but I am still getting my experience that I desired. So, I think it's unique in that. And I hope it does well.
And I know I think you said it and addressed it, but I am going to ask the question. Hopefully I don't double back on what you already said. Now, is there a part of that system with the tickets that it's a lock? Is there a certain time frame before a tip of a game or a concert or an event that you can't take back, being able to trade your tickets with someone else? So like if you were to spend the money to go to Miami for the weekend, you have a specific time where you can no longer take back the trade that you already made with somebody?
Yeah, so once a trade is final, right? We the tickets, that's it. But let's say right now we have it set at 12 hours, and our goal is to keep up in the server so we can be a little quicker. But let's say you put a ticket on there and it's 7 a.m. in the morning, we'll just give it back because we're like the game starts at 7. Nobody showed any interest on the platform, so maybe you can sell it. You know what I mean, or whatever you need to do on another website. The other thing that's cool about this is, let's hypothetically say that I do put up a Taylor Swift ticket. I say, hey, I got 2 tickets to Taylor Swift, right? All I want to go do is see the Pistons and the Wizards. And somebody's like, what is wrong with this idiot, right? So they're like, I'll go buy the tickets and Wizards just to give them to Taylor Swift. Once the tickets are yours, you can even sell them, right? So you could be like, I don't know why this person put this ticket on Ticket but I'm going to take it and sell it. You know what I mean? So that's the other awesome thing too. So I know you had mentioned the money, and it's like, just take it and sell it somewhere if you find a really good deal.
Gotcha.
Man, it does sound like a really cool website, and I'm going to drop the link in the YouTube and in the podcast description as well. Guys, if you're listening or you're watching on YouTube, go check out the website, sign up while it's free right now, and, just meet people where you can exchange tickets for and check out plenty of different events. It's a really cool website, and I love the concept of ticketbarter.com. It's pretty awesome. Great for you, Doc. It's incredible. I'm glad
it's a good community builder too with season ticket holders for Pistons. It's a good way to bring a lot of people together and kind of meet new people that are also like big Pistons fans. Like that's really cool, and essentially it helps everybody out.
Yeah, it does. And like I said, like anybody that's season ticket holder that's listening to this, I know like Will, Luke, so many people, like they've sat in the podcast seats, that our show gives away. It is like crazy at like 3 or 4 o'clock on Pistons home games that everybody's texting like, anybody have an extra ticket? And this kind of helps to like resolve all of that, and then this last minute you're going to pick up your kids and you're like, oh, I didn't get the link, all of that stuff. It's like, man, all right, here you go. So yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me come on. I really do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm glad you were able to bring this to me and we were able to talk about it. That is, like I said, I love the idea of it. And this is something I could see myself using in the future down the line.
Oh, and make sure you put the dash too, because there's like some foreign website that comes up for Ticket Barter, but Ticket Dash Barter is just we're in beta right now. The official site, when like we rip off the beta band-aid, I'll just say it's going to be called Bleep. And then
I think it'd be great to have just as an application on your phone as well.
You're
just walking around Detroit and they got a tip at 7 o'clock and you just go on free wall and you see that there's 2 tickets on free wall. Snag them up. You got nothing to do. Go get a drink and go to a game.
Exactly.
No, that's a great idea. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys. I really do. And like I said, we're in beta now, and I think everybody should jump in while it's beta, because then once we start charging, then we can. My wife.
Are you going to do like an initial sign up fee, or are you going to do a monthly fee?
That's even a better question. Everything is, we don't want to do like month to month. Everything's just going to be like one flat fee for a year.
Gotcha.
Like, because it's going to be great once it does build out to be like, I already traded my Lions Monday Night Football tickets for the Lakers. I already traded my Tigers season open. Like you can do it so far in advance, and that is so great.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast. The Athletic does an anonymous players poll every year, and one of the questions asked is, which current coach, aside from your own, would you least want to play for? 77 players voted, and Monty Williams came in third place. Not surprising. He has a reputation. One former NBA Western Conference coach said he doesn't ease up. Players like him at first, but his act will grow tired. So for you guys, when you watch the Detroit Pistons, what specifically could you point to in terms of Monty's coaching style that would make players hesitant to play for him? And Zach, I'll turn it over to you so Doc can get a glass of water real quick.
I think with Monty Williams, the one thing that I noticed way too much with Monty is just his posture during games, man. I feel like it doesn't change. I feel like it feels like to me he doesn't look actively involved with what's going on. He's always got his arms crossed with whatever lineup card he's got holding in, just standing there acting nonchalant on the sidelines. But with the list that you gave, it does not surprise me with those three being on top of it. Just because they've all been also coaches for multiple different teams.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's easier for these only 77 players to vote for. Now tell me if they did a repoll, about 15 players added to this. I think Darvin Ham would end up on that list as well after yesterday. But Monty, I don't know, man. He comes off as strange for me. Like it's really hard to kind of see what's going on in his head. And that if it's difficult for me to read him, I couldn't even believe what it would be to be like a player on the team.
I like that answer though. But Doc, what about you? You go to a lot of Pistons games.
Yeah.
You're front row. You see Monty live. We're watching him on TV. Coaching style. What makes players hesitant to play for him?
Wins and losses matter, first of all. So I mean, even if you interview me as a player, I just look at the worst coaches. I'd be like, I don't know, Monty Williams. I don't know. They lost 28 straight. You know, I don't want to play for anybody like that. I don't know. It appears Monty Williams, Zach almost like you said exact. He comes in and he has a game plan, but he doesn't make adjustments. Exactly. I think that's the biggest issue because I've seen times where unpopular players for the Pistons on social media, they might look like they're heating up. And he's like, nope, I said I was going to take him out 2 minutes in the third quarter. And he just pulls it. I'm like, whoa. Yep. Oh, you know what I mean? Yep. So that could possibly be getting around the league. You know what I mean? Because these guys, you know, you might, like I said, have an unpopular player who's like, dang, I was just getting in my groove. Draymond talks about this all the time. Like, he needs time to get in a defensive groove. Like, you know, because he had that triple-double with no points. And he was saying, I was in a really good groove that night defensively. I had watched my footage. I knew where every pass was going. I knew, you know what I mean? So but he was like, I needed time to get there. And if he's not giving you time to get into your groove, that can float around really quick. But I think number one, wins and losses matter. 28 straight losses. You don't get a tech. You don't blow up or anything. Nobody wants to play for that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like what you touched on too, where he will pull players or he'll play a guy over another player, like we saw earlier this season, Killian Hayes over Jaden Ivey. A lot of people thought it may have stunted Ivey's development. That clear favoritism over certain players, that is very evident. And it's been everywhere. Like, it was in Phoenix with Landry Shamet. It was in New Orleans. It's just everywhere he's gone. The joke is he wants whoever he's playing big minutes to marry his daughter. We've all heard this. And it just seems like, I'm not going to say that part's true, but the idea of him just showing favoritism to other players over certain players it's real blatant. And I think as a coach, players pick up on that, and that's where a lot of this comes from. Like, why would you want to go play for a coach where even though you're putting in all the work you possibly can, you might be more talented, more skilled than the guy getting minutes, but there's nothing you can do to overcome him in the rotation? And we saw that a lot in Detroit this past season. So I agree with the players. Like, it just seems like he's just, you know, I mean, I guess I should say I agree with the players, but I agree with like the rumors and what's being talked about with Monty Williams. Like, the favoritism, the rotations are bad as well.
Maybe like, because I played, it was Division III, so don't come at me too hard.
No, that's something.
I played college ball. I played a little bit of basketball, a little bit of football in college, and maybe he is a scriptive coach. When we go into game plans, back when I was playing football, we would have game plans going into our first, second, and third drives. It would be literally scripted plays of what we're going to do just to kind of see what defenses are going to align to us. And what was the difference between me playing in high school and college is with college, when we went into those scripted plays, no matter if it wasn't working, we didn't continue our script. We would jump in. And I feel like Monty doesn't care. Killian's going to go in with 7 minutes and 32 seconds left in the first quarter. I don't care who's doing what. He could be that type of coach, which could really ruin a lot of mentality for some of these players, because if you're a young player and you're lighting it up somehow, like maybe like, I know he's not a young player, like Malachi Flynn going out and dropping 50 points out of nowhere. Man, I wish I would have knew about that for FanDuel. But like certain things like that, you're not letting people play and live up to what they're like experiencing at the time in a game. So he could be a scripted coach. He could be trying to value certain minutes for certain players. But at the end of the day, that's not going to gain a lot of respect for the players that are playing well and getting pulled.
Yeah, I think the script is like right on the nose, because it did seem like that throughout the season. Like once they got to a certain part of the quarter, it didn't matter how well you were playing, someone was going to come in for you. And again, like it was real obvious with him. And man, I hope this grows. I hope the players get tired of him real quick.
Somebody marry the daughter already. Jeez, like let's end this.
I just want to say this though. There's usually, and I love listening to Stan Van's commentary. Like not all the time, not like, oh, he's Gorilla Monsoon or something like that. But every now and then he just lets out a little gem from Detroit. Like every now and then he's just like, I don't work there anymore. What the hell? Like he'll let out a little gem. And he always says, like, when it comes to playing time, well, he doesn't always, he's mentioned this a couple of times, but he's like, sometimes it does come from like above the owner. Like an agent will be like, hey, can you play my guy 8-9 minutes tonight? Because he doesn't want to be here anymore. And we're trying to showcase his post up to Miami or something. You know what I mean? And he's like, as a coach, you want to be like, okay, if you want to be here, I'll pay you the 8-9 minutes so you can box out or whatever to show the team that you want to go to. And I think sometimes, and I'm not giving Monty a break, it does come from higher, like, there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know about in playing time. But Monty does have a script, because you see him look down at his cards. You literally see him look down at the index card sometimes. Like, what the hell? Like, that's what we're doing? Like you're a stand-up comedian? No, we're down 3 and Cade is cooking. Don't take him out. What the hell?
Yeah, that happened a lot this season too. Like, again, it just didn't make any sense when it came to any of it. And God, I just hope that this era of coaching ends here soon in Detroit. I don't know if I'll be able to watch another season.
Do you think that killed Jaden Ivey's confidence? Oh
yeah, definitely.
Like, you can't do that to a young player. Like, you taking him out in certain scenarios, and sometimes he played big minutes at the end of close games, and sometimes he sat them. Like, it was pretty inconsistent. So I think that could really affect young players.
Yeah, I think too, like when you're playing bad, there's a reason you're getting pulled. But when you're playing well and then you get pulled, it's probably really confusing for a young player, especially a guy like Jaden Ivey, who probably throughout his entire basketball career, he's always been the guy on the team, and that he's allowed to play through his mistakes and everything. So yeah, I think it would. I don't think it would destroy confidence, but I think it would make you question when you're out on the floor and second guess your abilities a little bit.
But Lance, the average NBA, average NBA salary is $10 million. I'll sit on the bench or play for whoever. I don't care if it's Tibbs, Monty Williams. I don't.
I would too. It wouldn't matter to me. Like, as a fan, yeah, I would. I would just want to be in the NBA. I'm okay with it. I'll sit on the bench.
I beat Thanasis.
Man, we ain't getting into him. Man, he should be playing tonight. The whole team's hurt.
I don't even. You still don't play him even if you're hurt.
Pacers took another one today because the entire 3 of the starting 5 are hurt for Milwaukee. It's crazy.
Look, I knew Milwaukee was in bad shape when I was like watching the game, and I'm like, they got to get more out of Pat Beverly, and I'm like, oh, that's bad. If that's what you need to get more out of, that's bad shape.
Hey, Lance, did you see? I don't know how much you watch with just Basketball Network and stuff. Did you see Jalen Rose's comments about Larry Bird in Game 7 versus the Bulls? Did you see that?
No. Oh, wait a minute. Where
got
Jalen
benched.
Rose was cooking. Yeah.
Yep, and he benched him. Yep.
And he grabbed a beer. Then he went on the bus, and Larry Bird's like, "Hey, my bad. I apologize."
Do you think Monty does that with the players?
No, I don't think he has that type of relationship.
I shouldn't have done that to you. Like, I saw that, and the first thing I thought of was Monty Williams and Jaden Ivey. Like, do you think maybe he just, like, after the game walks up to him and genuinely just says, "I'm sorry, I should not"?
Oh yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a respect thing, and I don't think Monty's earned the locker room like that. I think if he makes a mistake, he doesn't put it. He puts it on everyone but himself, and I think that's a part of the issue.
He was forced to play Jaden Ivey, according to some reports that we got earlier in the year, where like Tom Gores had to step in along with Troy Weaver and other people in the front office, basically saying, dude, he's the former 5th overall pick. He's one of the more talented players on the team. You have him sitting on the bench. You need to play him. I'm willing to bet there was probably a conversation between Monty Williams and Jaden Ivey after that, but I don't think Monty Williams is taking guys. I mean, he let the relationship between him and DeAndre Ayton go to the wayside in Phoenix. So, I mean, I don't think he's really talking. I think he talks to some players, and he probably has like a pool of favorite players, and nobody knows why they're in that pool with him and why the other guys are sitting outside the pool. He probably just doesn't tell them why, they're there and why they're there. I don't know. I just don't see that from Monty Williams.
You think his contract's an ego thing to him? With how massive it is? Coming in, you paid me this much money. I don't care. This is how much I'm making.
Yeah, I think so. I think
it plays into it.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're given that much money, there's probably like you can do no wrong. Like, look, they gave me all this money. They liked what they saw. I'm not budging. I'm not changing. We're going with my script, and that's it. That's final.
Yep.
Man, it's going to be a fun year. So we're going to rank these 5 All-Stars. The NBA playoffs are going on right now, and the Detroit Pistons are like us fans watching from home. We've heard rumors and fans talk about what will happen to a handful of All-Stars if they are bounced early from the playoffs. So we're going to look at 5 All-Stars that have been linked to Detroit at one time, whether it was from a rumor or fans thinking out loud. And here are the 5 All-Stars. We have Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Brandon Ingram, Karl Anthony Towns, and Trae Young. We're going to rank them 1 through 5 on most likely to least likely of them coming to Detroit, and then rank them 1 through 5 on fit with the Detroit Pistons. Then each of us will make a case to why the Detroit Pistons should break up the core 4 to bring one of these guys in. Doc, I'm going to turn it over to you for most likely to least likely. Well, we'll just go around the horn. So you'll start, and then Zach will go, and then I'll go third. Number 1, who's most likely to come to Detroit via trade or whatever this offseason?
With this regime that we have? None of them. I mean, you're probably going to draft Bronny James so we can sell out.
Oh, my.
No,
We've had this conversation.
So Ticket Barter blows up. We're going to get Bronny James.
I want to say this. So I looked at this, and then so I'm going to put Brandon Ingram least likely. And this is the reason why. I believe after Zion got hurt, they were just like, all right, whatever we do, we do. Yeah, I don't think they're considering this like a true sweep, like, because they're like, we didn't have our core 2, right? Yeah, like he's only as good as Zion is. But so I'm gonna put him last, followed by Donovan Mitchell. I just can't. I think if Donovan Mitchell's headed anywhere, he's headed east, right? I feel like mentally he's probably like, I've done my time. I've been a good Samaritan in Utah. I got traded. I've been a good citizen. I said Samaritan. That's citizen. like we're sorry. I teach Sunday school. So, but no, I've been a good citizen in Utah. I didn't say I got traded to Cleveland. I've been a good citizen. I'm not gonna go anywhere else that I don't want to go. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
probably gonna go somewhere high profile or near his home on the East Coast. And then so I guess Devin Booker is number 1 because that team. I recorded a show that I have to edit. There's a lot of positives for the Pistons coming out of this first round.
Yes.
And there are a lot of teams that got to make bigger decisions than the Pistons. When you go and only win 14 games, your decisions aren't that great. Take anybody you can get. Phoenix, LA, Golden State, they got to make some major decisions. And when they're ready to make those decisions, we need to be like on the other end. Like we need to be on the phone now and just be like, yeah, just take me off mute when you're ready. You know what I mean? Like we don't even need to like say call me back. We just need to be like, hey, I'm just on hold. Just take me off mute when you're ready for Golden State. Seriously, Golden State, Phoenix, LA. Like there's so many real veterans on that. Like that was I'm sorry. So yeah, Devin Booker number 1, Donovan Mitchell number 2. I would kind of X out Brandon Ingram right now just because I think New Orleans was like, hey, Zion's done. We're still feel like we're in this to win this next year.
Okay. But wait, so where are Karl Anthony Towns and Trae Young? You have 2 and 3 spots still filled.
Oh,
I did add
I didn't get that update.
Yeah, my bad. I added 2 more names late.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns? No. And then who was the other one?
Trae Young. We talked about him last week.
Oh, Trae Young is up. Trae Young might surpass Devin Booker then, I think.
Most likely.
Yep.
Yeah, because we can pay him. We have the money to pay him.
Yep.
And that whole regime in Atlanta, I think, is kind of spearheaded a little bit by Grant Hill. Grant Hill has a say in that, and Grant Hill is not scared to like make moves. You know what I mean? If he sees somebody, he's I believe I heard an interview where he co-signed on going to get the kid from San Antonio. Who's Trae Young here with now?
DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray. Yeah, he was like, no, let's try it. Yeah, he was like, let's try it. And it appears based off that leadership, I don't know that they are fans of Quinn Snyder more than they're fans of the players. You know, it appears. Yeah. And if you're not a Quinn Snyder guy, it might be like hit the bread. I'm not saying I heard that from anywhere. It just feels like ownership is like we trust him fully. You know what I mean? And if he doesn't like a guy, we're gonna move him.
Interesting. So Trae Young would be your number 1 over Devin Booker.
Yeah. Okay. And the reason why I have someone, because I listen to a lot of Grant Hill interviews. He's one of my favorite. I think he's a really classy guy. I don't think he lies. I think he keeps it real straight with the fans. And so when I hear that, I'm like, wow, he's really into Quinn Snyder. Like, you know.
Oh man, he's a good coach. I'll give him that. Zach, where are you on the most likely to least likely? How do you rank these 5?
Most likely to least likely. All right, so my number 1's Trae Young, and honestly, I don't think it's close. I think with what Doc already said is with where the money's going to talk. It'll be a lot easier for them to transition Trae Young out of Atlanta than I think any of these guys moving anywhere. I think it'd be the easiest move for Detroit to make when using their cap, because I think we got $60 million right now in cap space. So if we're gonna attack somebody, I think Trae Young's our number 1. I got Devin Booker as my number 2. Phoenix. I think the game's on right now. I don't know the score. I don't have it up. I promise. But I think Phoenix gets swept tonight by Minnesota.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the score is.
It's close.
It is a close game.
Yeah, it's a very.
I think Anthony Edwards is a dog, and I love Anthony Edwards. But Devin with Phoenix, they're going to move pieces after this in this offseason. Mm-hmm. They're going to get shredded. It's going to happen. Durant, I don't think he's done playing basketball, but I think Durant is going to be out of Phoenix. I only put Booker as my number 2 because I think if they want to keep anybody in Phoenix, I think it's going to be Devin Booker because that's where he started. I think that's who they want to keep around. My number 3, I put Brandon Ingram. Okay, that's tough. I agree a lot with Doc with Zion. I think New Orleans has a good thing going. I really do. Yeah, I think they're building really well. I have faith in them being a good team in the next 3 to 4 years. Zion is a good player, but people pick and choose so bad at his weight and at his health. Like, and Mariah Mills attacks him. Like, this dude's going through some stuff right now. I love that you laughed at that. That's great. But like, this man's going through it. Whether he's an addict to whether it's food or some other industry, who knows? But this man, I think he stays, and I think he is a building block in New Orleans. And I think Brandon Ingram wants to play with him genuinely. My number 4, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is not going. He's going to east. He's not going to stay with us. Or choose us at all. I don't think that's a market for him. I thought that Donovan Mitchell was going to be equal to Anthony Edwards, but he kind of fell off for me. I saw them being kind of both the same prototype as a player, and his career just started falling down. So I don't see Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan Mitchell's going to go anywhere, he's going to be a puzzle piece to a team that's a contender. He's not going to be a leader, and that's where he's going to stay. And then my 5th and last that's not going anywhere is Karl Anthony Towns. I think Minnesota is building. Everyone joked about their 2 bigs, Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, but you're looking right now, they are bodying the Phoenix Suns, and it's not even close. Like, that team was built honestly perfectly. Like, the way that those 2 bigs work together, the way that the way that Mike Conley runs the point for Minnesota, it works. They built a perfect team out there. Like, it's the slower version of the Denver Nuggets of how I look at it. Like, I think those guys are all going to stay together, and I think they're going to try to go for a championship, whether it's this year or next year. So that's where I got Trae Young is my number one. He's the easiest target.
Okay, I like that list. Mine's a little different though. So most likely to least likely, I have Brandon Ingram number one. I do think New Orleans is.
What?
Yeah, here's the reason.
He loves Brandon Ingram. Don't even play with him.
I do love Brandon Ingram. I do. I think
Darko,
he'd be perfect in
the
Detroit.
same guy.
Yeah. It's crazy how much I love Darko as well. I have Brandon Ingram number one because New Orleans, you got to play Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. They're gonna both start for him next year. I don't see how Zion, Brandon Ingram, Jones, Murphy, all of them play on the floor together unless you're going to run Zion at the 5. I just don't see that. So I think they're going to possibly trade Brandon Ingram and try to bring in a point guard. And I think he's just the easiest of these guys to get if you're the Detroit Pistons. Like, I think you could package like Jaden Ivey and probably even Duran or someone else or Isaiah Stewart and bring in Brandon Ingram. I think he would be the easiest of these guys on the list. I actually have Karl Anthony Towns at number 2, and I'm kind of regretting this because Minnesota is playing pretty well, but Naz Reid, I think he will get more minutes next season. I love his role as a sixth man, but he was playing pretty well as a starter for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And plus, he's a lot cheaper. So if you're able to move Karl Anthony Towns, you have a little bit more money to play with to build that roster up. And plus, I wouldn't mind seeing Karl Anthony Towns in Detroit. I actually have Trae Young at number 3, just because he has been rumored, or Detroit has been a dark horse to acquire him this offseason. Even though the fit's not perfect with Cade, it would be a lot of fun to see Trae Young in Detroit, just like we talked about on the last episode. Devin Booker's number 4, just because I think out of the big 3 they have in there, he's the least likely to actually be traded. I think Bradley Beal's probably number 1. They'd probably even look to move Kevin Durant this offseason, and I think they'll still try to build around Devin Booker, but I would love Devin Booker in Detroit. And then Donovan Mitchell, he's number 5. I agree with Doc. I think he's going east. I think New York is where he's been linked to, somewhere on the East Coast, and I just see that happening for Donovan Mitchell. I don't know why he would want to be traded to Detroit, even though that fit would be kind of interesting with Cade Cunningham. It's just least likely for me. It's just not going to happen, even though I do love Donovan Mitchell's game, and that'd be really cool. But that's my list: Brandon Ingram, Karl Anthony Towns, Trae Young, Devin Booker, and Donovan Mitchell, in that order from most likely to least likely.
Where did your love come from, Brandon Ingram? What started it? Tell me.
Dude, it's just...
Where's the jersey? Hang it up, because you love this man. You love this man so much. If he is in a Pistons uniform next year, you will have season tickets. You will go to every single game, man.
I'll try.
Did you like him when he was in LA? When he got drafted?
I did, dude. His game is smooth. That's really what it comes down to for me. And like, he's kind of quiet out on the floor. Like, he's not a big talker. He just plays. Like, I don't know. There's just something about his game, dude.
That's why I don't want him here. I think we need a shakeup. You know, and I mean, if we were in the play-in and the playoffs, I'd be like Brandon Ingram. You know, you want those guys, but man, we need a shakeup so bad. Like, it's not even funny, man. Like, and I think Trae Young wouldn't fulfill that, but it would be a name the casual fan would know. Yep. He's not past his like over the hump or anything like that. He's going to at least get us in the NBA top 10 plays once a year. He's going to get us a couple of national TV games. Like, now the Pistons are like completely forgotten. Like, if you told a casual fan you were going to a Pistons game, I wouldn't be shocked if they're like, they still exist. Like, I really wouldn't be shocked. And Trae Young would kind of get us out of that. Brandon Ingram, while he would get us wins, I don't think he would get us that like tip of the tongue, you know, recognition.
I see what you're saying. He's not bringing in the national games.
No. And he's a good player. All these guys are ballers. All these are. But I think Devin Booker and Trae Young fit the mantra. Like, oh gosh, I would love to just be like, I'm going to the game and we have a good player.
Yeah, I think Trae. man, we talked about it last week. I would love Trae. I would really honestly love any 5 of these guys.
Yeah.
And man, Trae Young and Cade, it would be a lot of fun in the backcourt. It wouldn't be very good defensively, but man, it would be exciting from game in. But I don't know. I do question it a little bit now that I've had more time to think about it. But let's get into fit with the Detroit Pistons. So we're going to re-rank these guys 1 through 5 for fit with the Detroit Pistons. And Doc, I'll turn it over to you. If your list is the same, just feel free to say that, but make a case for why they work with the Pistons.
No, so let me just say this. Like Cade, you know what they call it, city statement jerseys or whatever. Right now, his is the movie poster of Waiting to Exhale because he like has to get the pressure off him, right? Like that's his jersey. Like on the back of his jersey, probably I'm your lover and your secretary, right? So anyway, I think anything with shooting involved is great, right? So Devin Booker, Trae Young, like anybody that can put the ball in the bucket at a high volume, right? Donovan Mitchell is a so I would say Trae Young, Devin Booker, and then after that Brandon Ingram, of course. And Donovan Mitchell is just so dang alpha. You know, I just can't like, man. So yeah, Trae Young, Devin Booker, Brandon Ingram, Donovan Mitchell, and then Cat.
Okay.
Yep, that's how I would look at it. But I would love to have them all. But man, we need buckets. We need points. The way you win the game is to score more points than the other team, right?
Nobody told Monty that.
No.
Monty, he looked at his clipboard and it didn't say that. It didn't say anything about points.
We need points. So whoever averaged the highest this year, that's who we need.
What about you, Zach? Rank them 1 through 5 based on fit with the Detroit Pistons.
I don't want to hype you up at all with this, but I would say number 1 fits Brandon Ingram. Okay. I think don't think it's a compliment. And I think out of all of them, I think Brandon Ingram is the best fit for that team. I think you keep the roster where we're at. I think he fits really well running the 3 spot. So, and if we're keeping the team as is with like Cade and Jaden with Brandon Ingram, I think he's a good guy to get the ball in his hands with 5 or 6 seconds on the shot clock. I think he's able to create better than anybody that we have at the moment. Now, second, I'm probably going to go Devin Booker. Doc wants a scorer, you got one. You got Devin Booker. We'll let this dude shoot 25 times a game and nobody will care. So if I'm going to go number 2, I'll go Devin Booker. Then probably run, I would say, with Karl Anthony Towns at my 3rd fit. Karl Anthony Towns, I think, can mesh with really any big, or he can just be the primary big with a bunch of guards and shooters around him because he is a good passer. It's underrated. He is a very good passer as well. And then I would probably go with Trae Young and then Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, I think you're right saying that he's too alpha. I think if you bring in a Donovan Mitchell, I think we don't really hear a lot about Cade anymore. I think he is more of an isolation guy. He's not really going to be one that gets a ton of assists coming onto this team. I think Trae Young would fit in a better role with that with Cade Cunningham, but I would probably put Donovan as my last.
Interesting. And I was only laughing because you have Brandon Ingram number 1, and I don't have Brandon Ingram number 1 for the fits.
So I'm trying to get downloads.
I'm gonna get roasted on your Instagram and get on YouTube. Everyone's gonna make fun of me. You don't know what you're talking about. You're right.
Dude, you could be Kendrick Perkins. He's a genius when it comes to talking basketball, and he gets roasted all the time.
I can't watch that at all.
So my fit with the Detroit Pistons 1 through 5. Number 1 is Devin Booker, just because, dude, he's a scorer. He's played all different types of roles with the Phoenix Suns. He's played with Chris Paul, a genius point guard, and some have said Cade Cunningham is kind of like a jumbo version of Chris Paul with the way he sees the game. He's played with high usage players like Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. He's played so many different roles, and I think he could just fit so nicely alongside Cade Cunningham. Plus, he's from Grand Rapids, so, I mean, why not bring the hometown kid back to Michigan? Karl Anthony Towns is my number 2 just because I love when the Pistons have a stretch big. They looked a lot different when Mike Muscala was on the floor at the 5, and you just need a better guy at the 5 spreading the floor, and that's what you get with Karl Anthony Towns. Number 3, Brandon Ingram. Yeah, again, he's another scorer. He can play a little off the ball. He can create his own shot. He can create plays for others. And then I got Trae Young at number 4 just because I keep going back to this. We're talking about fit, and I like it with Cade, but also I see why it doesn't work. They're both very high usage players. Cade's pretty good off the ball. Trae Young, he needs the ball in his hands all the time. Then Donovan Mitchell, I go for the same reasons. He's just too much of an alpha. Even though that is a good thing, this is very much Cade's team. And when you're bringing someone else in, that kind of has to be the pecking order from here on out. So that's my list, 1 through 5. Quickly done, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't know though.
Mike Muscala.
Well, I'm just saying they played better with a stretch 5. He opened things up for them. Why not get a more talented stretch 5 in there like Karl Anthony Towns?
Fair enough.
That's
I'll
it.
Give it to you.
One thing about Donovan Mitchell, and this is hypothetical, he is an alpha. You're gonna have to restructure the team around him. But if for some reason he and Cade are friends, and that's the other thing with the Pistons, they don't seem to be friends with anybody like around the league. But if Cade were to come and be like, I want to play with Mike Muscala. I'm gonna say Mike Muscala. I want to play with Donovan, and Donovan Mitchell was like, I want to play with. Then you have to make it happen, right?
Yeah,
then you're like, okay. But right now it just doesn't seem like that. Those seem like two guys that are just isolated on their own thing. Just both ballers.
Man, interesting though. Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of weird putting Donovan Mitchell number 5 because like he is kind of making it work with Darius Garland, but I guess I don't remember too much of his Utah. I mean, he did work with Mike Conley, but Mike Conley's not really the same player as a Cade Cunningham. So yeah, I don't know. Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I might get roasted for having him number 5. I'm sure some people think he would be the best fit alongside Cade Cunningham.
It's all objective. I mean,
it is.
Any of these, listen, we need wins. We need points. And all of these players do that at an above average rate to anybody on our team right now.
Yeah.
So if you had to break up the core 4, say you had to trade 2 of them,
I don't even know who they are anymore. I said it again. I'm like, I don't even know who they are.
Well, we'll just say the core 4 is Cade, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, and Jalen Duren. If you had to trade 2 of those guys away for one of these guys, who is the guy you are picking to trade 2 of those guys away for?
Well, Asar is he has the blood clots, right?
Yeah.
But is this assumed he's coming back?
Yeah. He said that he's fine. He said he got words from the doctor. Now it's just, I think, revamping everything.
When it comes to winning, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I'm like, trade the guy with the bad blood clots. And I love the guy, but I'm like, hey, if somebody's gonna take someone with blood clots, get rid of them, all right? Yeah. We don't look. Henry Ford ain't that great. No, I mean, anybody. I would listen, and I don't want to be the Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
But Cade was healthy most of the season. Why is he so untouchable? You know what I mean? I don't want to go down that road, but I'm like, the guy was healthy most of the season and he was there for all 28 losses. I mean, if we can upgrade, you have to make it fit because this fit doesn't work. This does not work. We tried it. We have a sample size of an entire season. It doesn't work. So to answer your question, you would have to mix and match. If we get Donovan Mitchell, maybe it is a Cade we have to give up and and build everybody else around it. If we want to go that direction. If it is a Trae Young, maybe we do keep Cade and get rid of it. It just really depends. But nobody for me is untouchable at this point. I mean, 14 wins with good health. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with that. And you asked the question, you trade 2 for 1. That's what you said?
Yeah, if you're breaking up the core 4.
Okay, so is this count? If I'm breaking up the core 4, do I still, let's say we have the number 1 draft pick? Yes or no? Do we have a top draft pick?
Yeah, we're just going to do this just with 2 players. If you're going to trade 2 players.
I was saying because if we're still going to sit with a number 1 draft pick right here, I would trade Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren for Devin Booker with a number 1 overall pick. You can pick up Alexander Sarr at number 1. You now just replaced 2 people that could be almost the same type of player. Because Doc's not wrong. Cade, we love Cade, we really do. He's a great player. He's our number 1 overall pick. But just because we picked him number 1 overall, does that mean that he is untouchable? He can be a part of the problem, and we have to kind of figure that out. We want a superstar so bad it feels like we're settling for one. Let's have him perform enough that we don't have to have this. It's not a conversation anymore. We know exactly who it is. So I agree. I agree that no one in this 4 is untouchable. I think you could transition anyone out if you have the opportunity to get a point scorer.
I mean, I agree that nobody should be untouchable, but like, if I'm picking someone, if I'm not, I would not trade Cade Cunningham. Even though they didn't win many games, he still had an impressive season, and I really want to see him paired with like the right type of players around him and how he could play, because he had to force a lot with that roster that they played with this past season. So I mean, I'm keeping Cade, and if I'm trading 2 of them, my guys on the list are Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey. And if I could only bring in one of these guys, the cherry on top of the ice cream would be Devin Booker. I would break up the core 4 for Devin Booker. I'd really break up the core 4 for any of these guys, but Devin Booker would be at the top of my list to break up the core 4 for. I would love to see him and Cade in the backcourt together. I think it would be just phenomenal.
I love Sar. I mean, from what I've seen, I don't know why people are like, "Oh, it's a weak draft." I'm like, I hope we're stuffing the box with extra balls or whatever it may be to get this guy. I'm serious. I'm like, because I'm going to be front and center summer league if we get him, because I'm going to be excited to see him play.
Yeah, I think if the Pistons could pair him, I said this last week, that's like pairing Cade with Evan Mobley with like defensively. I think it would be pretty cool to see Alex Sarr in a Detroit Pistons uniform. So
Cade is phenomenal. My daughter has his jersey. I mean, but we won 14 and it bothers me that there was never a stretch in there where it was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, all right, this is like it was never all 14 just felt like a trip up. You know what I mean? Such and such is injured, such and such just traded a player. So when I'm talking about the opposing players.
Yeah.
And I know this is not his personality, but I never saw him take a chair and be like, dang, you know what I mean? Like, never, not the entire season. Like, come on, guys, we got it. You know what I mean? And I would expect that at least for him to just like put his arm around somebody, be like, come on, man, I threw you that oop, you missed it. He never did it. He never did. And so he performs well on the court, but his leadership is not, it's probably like a 1 out of 10 for as far as leadership qualities.
Do you think he strikes fear in other players? Like when they see him on the floor, they're like, damn, that's Cade Cunningham. You think he does that?
It depends on how you define fear. But I definitely think a team comes out and they're just like, if we lock him up, we're good, guys. Like I think that's what the teams do. I think they're just like, hey, which speaks volumes about how bad everybody else is.
Yeah. I don't think he's LeBron sitting at the free throw line looking and seeing Kawhi like, damn, that dude's back in type of fear.
Yeah.
But he is hard to guard.
Mm-hmm.
So he is difficult to play. I mean, we're not going to sit here and say that he's a bad basketball player.
No.
Because he's the number 1 pick. He leads this team, this very bad team. He does lead it, but I don't think he's a stone cold killer. And I think that's maybe a piece that we need. Maybe he does need to toughen up. Maybe he needs to do Monty's job and hold people more accountable to their actions on the court. Maybe he does need to be that role, but right now he's not there. And if we maybe get some fire out of him, maybe it'll give better performances to everybody else on the team.
Okay. I like that.
I was talking with a guy at the game. This is real quick, 10 seconds. Okay. And I think teams came in with 1 of 2 game plans with the Pistons. Let Cade do what he wants and just shut down everybody else, or just lock up Cade. It felt like that sometimes because his games would be up and down. And I'm like, they're doing 1 or 2 things when they play the Pistons. Just, hey, we can't stop him. Just let him do what he wants because he can't. The other team is trash. Everybody else is trash. So just guard everybody else. He can't score 100 by himself, or completely lock him up and make everybody else have decent games. Their decent games are crap games.
That's a hell of a game plan going into the second quarter. I think if the team's shooting well, then you let Cade ISO. If Cade's on fire, then you just switch it out. Like I think that's a hell of an adjustment that could be made. Because the rest of the team is trash.
It felt like that.
You got Marcus Sasser coming out making 17 threes in a game and then going 0 for 17 the next. I think it just depends. It's just adjustments. But that's why I think it's so easy to beat the Pistons, because the adjustments are so easy to make.
Yeah, I mean, when you see Metu on the floor and he's like taking the ball from the 3-point line and trying to dribble to the hoop. You're like, all right, we just take Kate out of the game and we got this in the bag. This is an easy win. Oh man, it was brutal.
And
so
don't
the
even talk about the third quarter. My goodness. It was like the Pistons just went in the back and played Madden and was like, oh shit, third quarter, we gotta get out there.
Yeah, it's time to play Madden in the third quarter for the Detroit Pistons. But speaking of football, the NFL draft was held in Detroit, and fans there smashed the attendance record. The NBA All-Star Game hasn't been hosted by Detroit since 1959 in the Olympia Stadium, and the last time the All-Star Game was played in Michigan was in 1979 in the Pontiac Silverdome. The earliest Detroit could host the NBA All-Star Game would be in the year 2028. Do you think the NFL draft accelerated the NBA's plans to let Detroit host the All-Star Game? Do you think that plays a factor in it at all?
No. The team's not good. The Lions are on the come up. That's why everyone loves them. If we held it in 2028 and we made another 30-loss losing streak record of whatever for the Pistons, no one's going to show up to that. I think it depends on the success of the team. If they host, it'd be great. Yeah, it's great for the city of Detroit. But if the team's not good, no one's going to go to it. I don't think anybody will care. I mean, my hot take, just because the Lions made the NFC Championship game, I think they have something to root for. They have a reason to be there. I think maybe if the Pistons become a 4 or 5 seed by the time 2028 comes around and they can make a run to something, then sure, that'll be popular. But I don't think the All-Star Game, I don't think that's a destination for them just because of the success of the Pistons.
I think if you're the NBA, you're looking like, okay, the NFL just made a ton of money as fans just came out for this event just to watch guys walk across the stage. That's all it was. We are providing entertainment in the form of a game. And I think Detroit sports fans are some of the best sports fans there are out there. Even though the Pistons only won 14 games, they average like 18,000 people a game. I mean, this is a city that is starving for good basketball, and the All-Star Game provides better entertainment than what the Detroit Pistons provide. I think if the NBA were to host the All-Star Game in Detroit, I don't think it would be record-breaking, but I think it would be a sold-out event for the All-Star weekend.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, for the most part, my life, I've been a lifelong Detroiter. I own a business in Detroit. The NFL draft was in a concentrated block, right, area. There's other. So I put the link in the chat where the NBA released new requirements for the All-Star Game. You got to have 7,250 hotel rooms and 3 5-star hotels. I think we only have maybe one if you count Shinola. I don't know if the Westin Book is considered a 5-star hotel. So I don't know if they mean within the confines of the city, right? Because if that's the case, we're definitely not doing that. And then the other thing that's a major blow for Detroit is the airport's, 35, 40 minutes away. That's a significant blow. When the committee, I think Avery Johnson is on the committee that actually, I think he spearheads it, that looks at cities that have these type of events and stuff like that. When you put them on the flight and then you tell them, oh, wait 40 minutes before we get to the city, he's going to be like, what's going on, right? And then you can't just show them like one block of campus marches and things like that. You got to show them the whole city. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but
you're good.
Let me just say that the hole is in front of LCA still. Like that was supposed to be a hotel, is still there. There was supposed to be a hotel connected to Ford Field too, and the Ford family was just like, we was just playing with you. We're not putting that for it. Yeah. So and when you can go to Ford Field and still see remnants of where that hotel was supposed to be. So, I don't think it matters anymore because All-Star Game is just not illustrious. It's just a big marketing event, Nike, Adidas, and things like that. So I don't think it holds on to what it does with our childhood. It's like, oh man, I wish. And then lastly, I want to mention the snow. We get a snowstorm tonight in Detroit.
That's true.
February, but
yeah,
I don't think it matters. So those are all the good things. But the positive things for it is it hasn't been here in a long time. NBA likes to showcase things. When I talked to a Pistons rep, one of their biggest things to move downtown was now they get the international fan base because you can take the Detroit Windsor Transit, the bus right over from Canada. So you'll get those Windsor fans and things like that. So there's a lot of positives too, but man, there are a lot of drawbacks too when you start looking at it.
Yeah, I'm glad you sent that article because I was just reading it as you were talking. It's yeah, you got to have a 650,000 square foot convention center. I don't know if Detroit actually
Ours
has
is
that or not.
like 800. The old Cobo Hall, it keeps changing the name. It's like it's like 800 square. Like that. That's not the issue, but it's not close to LCA. It's not walking distance. And if you want to take the Q line, keep waiting, my friend. Keep waiting.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the NFL draft did. I think when you see 750,000 people show up for an event like that, if you're another professional sports league, you're like, I got to get some of that money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what it comes down to. But there's a lot, like Adak is saying, there's a lot that stacks up against LCA hosting the All-Star event. But I don't know. I think the NFL
fixing a hole in front of the arena first.
Yeah,
like
that's a big one. But we will see in 2027 how the Final Four, because LCA will host a Final Four game in that year. So I don't know. Maybe if that does well and you combine it with the NFL draft, maybe it does change something in 2028.
And like football in America is like king, right? So it's hard to compare. Like, the NFL draft, like football is like, I think it's like it's the highest grossing sport. I believe definitely. I don't think anything even comes close, to like I once heard a stat like the least grossing football team, whoever it may be, let's hypothetically say like the Arizona Cardinals, still makes more than the Yankees or something. It was like some crazy stat like
Jeez, that's crazy to me.
Now I'm on wax for saying that, so now I got to provide you with the link. But yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah. No, but it is true because like the NFL, like they do it so well. Like everything they have an entire network. I know the NBA does too, but there's so many shows on ESPN. There's so many podcasts that talk about it. They have so many different ways to talk about the sport, whether it's rumors, whether it's breaking down an offense or a defense. They just know how to get it in front of your face, unlike any other league does. Like I know more about Bart Starr than I do about Jerry West. And that's just because the NFL is so good at talking about the history of their game, way better than any other sport is, at least in my opinion.
Do you think that's because of the less amount of games? Because there's more focus and draw to one single game because they only play 17 games in a season, maybe?
I mean, I think
they profit over 200 million more than Major League Baseball does, and they nationally crush it. I think I don't know if you guys watched the draft at all. They were talking to Roger Goodell how they're going to like 3 or 4 new countries within the next 10 years to host a game. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. But maybe because there is less games and it's easier to follow. All the games are on the weekend or a Monday night. It might be easier for them to, I would say, like publicize these events. So maybe that could be a reason for it. But they do profit a lot of money.
I think too, like the fantasy sports aspect of it too is so much better than it is in other sports. I think that plays a major part. I just think, I mean, maybe the less games does play a huge part into it, but I do think the way the NBA markets their games, the way they talk about the history of their game, that all plays a huge part into it. And if you're not, I don't know, you just got to take a page out of the NFL's playbook. That's really all you got to do.
One game a weekend.
I mean, I think you could figure.
Do you think, Doc? Do you think the in-season tournament helped at all?
It was definitely fun for Vegas goers. Man, when I was at the game, a lot of people didn't know what was going on. I'll just be honest, because I went to every in-season tournament game in Detroit, and they were just like, "What's going on?" Like, because it was those games were on usually like Fridays or something like that.
Yeah, and I hated our court.
Yeah, and so a lot of casual fans, that's not an insult, go to the games on Fridays and Saturdays, and they're just kind of like they didn't understand what was going on.
I think that was their shot to like try to match the NFL with profit, to like come up with something like that.
So you just have to keep building and building and building. But it is cool to go to bed, and they timed it perfect because that week that they go to Vegas is like the off week for college football, right before the ball. Like they timed it like perfect. Tyrese Halliburton had a like his breakout moment, so it was a win. I think you just got to keep doing it. You know what I mean? I think the other thing is that's with the in season tournament is, I would like to see it. I know this sounds like kind of weird. Maybe like at the end of the season for the play-in. Maybe I know that sounds kind of weird. Like, I can't take credit for this, but we were at a Tigers game and they were saying maybe do a tournament for the number 1 pick, right?
Yeah, I would like that.
Take all the teams that didn't make the playoffs and say you have to play for the number 1 pick, you know, and that week that's in between while the play-in tournament is occurring, you can just still, the Pistons would still be playing, Washington was there, and they'd be all playing for the number 1 pick. So I don't know. There's a lot of things we could do, but hope Detroit's get. I'm a Detroit advocate. I hope they get the All-Star game, because if they do get All-Star game, that means now we have 3 5-star hotels. That means the airport is working in the city. I mean, so I hope we do get it. But as it is right now, I would, if I was on a committee, I would have a lot of questions to ask about, like, why is your convention center 2 miles down the street from the arena? Why doesn't the arena have a hotel? Because really, if you if the game's at LCA, I don't know what hotel you would stay at. I'm not trying to be fun. I don't know. Like, and I'm like, where would you stay where you could walk, possibly in the cold, at a good distance? And there just really isn't one.
Man, maybe Tom Gore should fork over for a new arena.
He'll want a tax break, and then he'll want to use taxpayers' money. Where when it comes down, he's only paying like $50,000 or something.
So crazy. All right, so our favorite Detroit Piston, the infamous second overall pick, Darko Milicic, fires back at Carmelo Anthony. So this podcast is what podcast is? It's the Jao Mile podcast, hosted by Mile Ilic, and he's a former Serbian basketball player that was actually drafted in 2005 by the New Jersey Nets. So Carmelo Anthony, he says this on Dwayne Wade's podcast. I love stories like this, by the way. Carmelo Anthony says, I heard stories about Darko and the Detroit Pistons, and I immediately got ready to head there. I had to find out where he trained to track him down. Where are they hiding him? I wondered. I went to every gym to find him. Yes, that's a true story. I wanted to find him, beat him one-on-one, and show that I should have been the first pick for the Detroit Pistons. So Darko Milicic fires back, and he says he's still whining about something to this day. What are you whining about? You're third. What do you want? Are you crazy? Maybe if I were third, I'd still be playing, and he'd be picking apples, because Darko Milicic is now an apple farmer. And he says, I heard he was after me, but I didn't see him. I have no idea. If he wanted, he would have seen me. He would have found me. He knew where I was. Those are their gangster stories, you know, like I was looking for him to show him. What do you want to show me? I heard his emotions got the better of him. He needs to calm down pronto. So what are your immediate thoughts when you hear those words from Darko Milicic? Zach, what are your immediate thoughts when you hear that?
Man, we just keep pulling this out of the grave, aren't we?
I know. Like, what the heck?
Man, dude needs to make some cider and just chill out, bro. Like, you were a bust. Your only one fan is Lance Caporossi in Michigan. Like, it's about it. Like, it's a publicity thing. But if Carmelo's gonna go against anyone and say anything, Darko Milicic is the last person you want to attack. What does he have to gain or lose in a situation? You're attacking a guy that works on a farm, bro. Like, it's said and done. It's over. Like, it's not something that needs to be brought back up. Like, even I wish we could go back in time and be like, hey, like, let's not do this. Let's get someone else. I wish that was a thing, but it doesn't matter anymore. It's all under the bridge. The fact that it's still brought up to this day, when that draft was years and years and years ago, I don't think it needs to be really talked about anymore.
Yeah, real quick. So he spent $8 million on his apple farm, and he produces over 10,000 pounds of fruit per year, according to
Thank you for ESPN.
That stat. Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there, dude. He's not just on a farm picking apples. He has an entire farm, and he rides
Johnny
horses
Appleseed.
on it. Yeah, dude. But Doc, what were your immediate thoughts hearing those quotes?
I gotta go to work tomorrow, man. It's like I don't even want to. I mean, it's like really, man. Like Carmelo, you have 3 gold medals. LeBron's gonna pass you this summer or whatever. Ty, you just be happy, man. You're a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I hate to. It's no. I got work tomorrow, man. I don't know what to say. I think there's a bust in every draft.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's a bust in every draft. And I know Carmelo has a really big deal, podcast deal right now. And part of the podcast game is hot takes. And so you gotta keep it going. So I know and then Darko has this Apple thing going. So good luck to the best of them. Carmelo, I listen to his podcast because he drops some gems every now and then, some truth things. But I don't try to look too much in because he has I'm sure he's getting paid well for that. I assume. I don't know. Maybe he'll be like, Joe, I'm not getting paid anything, but they do a good job of flashing his Jordans every episode. So I'm sure that's wrapped up in there somehow too. You know what I mean? It's a big psychology thing. So he has to say something. Because I know a month ago it was the Phil Jackson thing. Now it's the Darko thing. So I'm sure it'll be the Denver thing in a couple weeks. Until the season ends.
See, okay, here's my hot take on this whole thing. And I don't know, maybe it's a hot take. Maybe it's just maybe it's not. I do think his career would be different if he was drafted third, but also if he had still been drafted second and Rick Carlisle was the head coach of the Pistons, I think he would have had a much better rookie season than playing under Larry Brown. I think Darko did have a ton of talent. I mean, I don't think he would have been a Hall of Famer or even an All-Star, but I do think he could have actually been a player for the Detroit Pistons. Because if you watch his draft videos and you watch some of the highlights, there was quite a bit of skill. Even Rasheed Wallace has talked about this.
Yeah.
I think Darko Milicic would have been much better especially if he had played under Rick Carlisle, because he was more of a finesse player. He liked to shoot jumpers. He liked to put the ball on the floor a little bit, show off the athleticism. And Larry Brown was having none of that. So I think it would have been different if he had played for another coach. And I don't think Carmelo Anthony's picking apples if he was drafted second overall by the Detroit Pistons, but I will. But
Rasheed said that this week. There's a video floating around where Rasheed was like, Carmelo would not have played as much as he did in Denver, in Detroit under Larry. Yeah. I'll have to send you the link, but because it was in response to this, and Rasheed was like, Carmelo would have been Carmelo, but he definitely, just from that style of play, I guess, or whatever, Larry Brown's, I don't. Again, man, this stuff is so old, man.
But there's a point to this. So Larry Brown was the Team USA coach that offseason. There were 3 rookies that played for Larry Brown on that Team USA that won bronze: LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 3 of those, Dwayne Wade played the most minutes. Carmelo Anthony barely got off the bench under Larry Brown. I don't think he would have played big minutes. I think he would have been forced to play Carmelo Anthony in Detroit by Joe Dumars and Bill Davidson at some point. But Larry Brown, he was a tough coach on rookies. And I don't think Carmelo Anthony has the rookie year he does in Detroit. Now, if you're talking about drafting him in like 2010, 2011, 2012, when the NBA kind of went to smaller lineups, he probably would have started alongside Ben Wallace at the 4 spot, but I think coming into that 03 draft, they really loved Tayshaun Prince. They were weak at the 4 spot. They saw Darko and the talent he had. I really think the answer should have been Chris Bosh. I really think if we're really going to redraft, Dwayne Wade would be the number 2 pick over Carmelo Anthony anyways, because I think Dwayne Wade, I think that's why Joe Dumars drafted Rodney Stuckey, was to try to bring, get a different version of Dwayne Wade. But anyways, that's for a different conversation. So that's why I just think Carmelo's career is different if he's drafted by Detroit. He's not the same Melo as rookie season. And I definitely think Darko's career is different if he plays under Rick Carlisle or he's drafted later in that draft other than second. So that's just my take on that.
The Pistons are so bad that we're still talking about the 2003 NBA draft. My goodness.
It just popped up on my feed. I had to talk about it. And I love Darko, man. I just think he just didn't get a fair chance in the NBA.
I did
he still played like 8 years.
Because it popped up on my YouTube like quick thing. I'm like, why is Rasheed talking about Carmelo? And then oh my goodness, Lord have mercy.
How many apples have he picked in a year? I'm just trying to see if he picked more apples than Carmelo has scored points total.
He does 10,000 pounds of fruit a year.
All right, well, Carmelo has 28,289.
So about 3
points.
years he'll have more
3
apples.
years. Those apples could be points.
I think I saw a documentary on it. I think his apple farm is worth like a couple million or something, like tens of million, I think.
So who won in the end?
I mean, if Darko's happy, he won. You know, he made 52 million playing in the NBA as a bust and as a second overall big bust.
No, you know who won? The Pistons in 04. They won the title.
They did. They won. They
were going to win it regardless. It don't matter. They were the best team by a mile, even without the draft, man. I mean, everybody knew that summer. Pistons
Okay, so before we end this podcast, we talked about this on like the last episode, and I came up with a movie idea. I have a new movie idea. Neither of you know about this. I did not put this in the prep, but I'm just going to share with you.
Does he know the first one?
No, I listened to it last week.
Okay.
And I was like, all right. I actually text Lance. I'm like,
man, this guy is doing. I'm telling you, he's sitting in the bathroom just
typing away
together. Yeah, just letting it go. But
dude, this is becoming one of my favorite segments on this podcast, and I'm glad we have a guest on that can listen to this. Okay, so here's the movie title. It's called Italian Ice. It is a basketball movie. You guys ready for this?
Yeah,
so in the heart of Detroit, where basketball isn't just a game, but a way of life, Italian Ice tells the story of Luigi Rossi, a 5'7" high school sophomore with dreams larger than his stature. As a bench warmer for Detroit Central, a high school known for its basketball prowess, Luigi faces constant underestimation due to his size. Luigi's father, Luca Rossi, a former Italian pro basketball player with a tough exterior, pressures Luigi relentlessly, wanting his son to replicate his own storied career. This dynamic reaches a boiling point during a one-on-one game at the park, where Luca's harsh words almost push Luigi to give up basketball for good. As Detroit Central aims to secure their second state title in 3 years, an unexpected twist of fate thrusts Luigi into the spotlight. During the state title game, injuries and foul trouble decimate the team's roster, and Luigi, despite being the last choice, is called upon to play with coach Mike Beard, who has always seen potential in Luigi, but hesitated to play him due to his size. Watching closely, Luigi seizes the opportunity. Luigi's moment of truth arrives in the final minutes of the game, displaying an unseen prowess. He sinks 7 3-pointers, rallying Detroit Central from behind. Each shot he makes not only scores points, but also wins over the hearts of his teammates, his coach, and even his demanding father. Italian Ice culminates in a heart-pounding, buzzer-beating final shot that crowns Detroit Central state champions once again. Luigi's performance not only earns him the game ball, but also his father's respect and acknowledgement. More importantly, Luigi learns that true greatness comes from within, and that underdogs can have their day. It's an inspirational tale of resilience.
How many singing clips are there in the middle of this? What are you, high school
there's no
what the hell is this, Lance? What are you? Are we going to do this every Sunday?
No, I'm just going to do it when we have guests on.
Hey, man, that's pretty. So, like, did you always read like the highlights magazines or something? And you know what? It's long, so like that's the thing. It's not like a quick like, hey, man, I thought about this.
No, I'm putting a lot of work into him. Are you kidding?
He goes into it. It's his whole heart.
First thing I thought about last week was I put you guys a link. Burn Rubber sneaker store here in Detroit. They came out with a shoe like, I don't know, like 10 years ago. Reebok Question. And it had this color scheme. Nobody knew what it meant. So they just made up a story. And that's why I put the link in the chat. They just made up a story.
I think Lance, we love doing these podcasts, but I think Lance is calling his children's books. I think he could come up with some great stories with some pictures on it and stuff. I think he sit down and really put some stuff together about kids playing basketball in middle school and overcoming all the deficits.
Do you want to hear what inspired me to write that? Yeah, it's called Italian Ice. Yeah, because it's about an Italian basketball player.
What did you see something driving down the road?
Like, no. But he has ice in his veins. That's why he's able.
That's what it is.
Yeah, Italian ice in the veins. No, I was watching the highlights from when LeBron James won the state championship. I think his freshman or sophomore year, but it was Drew Joyce, the point guard. He was a little undersized point guard, and he went 7 for 7 from the
I know
3-point
what you're
line.
talking about.
Yeah, and that's where I got the idea from.
You got like these underdog stories pulled out of a hat. Like you, I don't.
Dude, I can't.
I like
can't
it,
help
but
it.
I can't do one of these. And that was probably like a quarter of it. You probably have the script already started.
No.
You
I
have,
got the script
characters.
started.
You have everything.
No, I'm not hating. I'm not hating, Lance. Look, man. That's better, man. That's really good. That's all I'm gonna say. That's really good.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's really good. I mean, you should start posting those on social media. I'm pretty much retired from social media, but you should start doing. I just release episodes, but you should. You should.
I mean, I might. I just want people. I want people to listen to the podcast. That's why I do them on the podcast. I don't want them to read them.
Well, you can do like a little trailer, on social media.
Man, that's just
better than these thirst traps that are out there, man.
This is true.
We need to go to Detroit and film a quick ice in his veins.
Italian ice. It's called Italian ice.
Oh, my bad. I already screwed it up. I'm so sorry, Luigi. My bad, bro.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to the 3 Championship Drive podcast. Do us a favor. Go to Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts and hit the follow button. After you hit the follow button, rate with 5 stars and leave a review by telling us why you became a Pistons fan. After you do all that, tell another Pistons fan to listen to the 3 Championship Drive podcast.